In the city, a thriving metropolis encompassing 1/3 billion souls, a man can change his world as easily as crossing the street. It is a place of 1,000,000 cultures, the world in microcosm. For some, it is their last hope for survival. For others, it is their playground. And for others yet, it is their hunting ground. Isaac Sarason is a talented hacker, a doctor of applied network theory, trusted employee of British Telecom-Sprint. He lived in a world which 90% of his fellow citizens can only imagine. And he has a problem. His health is failing. His job is on the line. His world is crumbling around him. He wants out. And the street is his only escape. What happens when the life you dreamed of is killing you? What do you do when you find yourself hijacked? Colbyjack.net is proud to present Firmware, Hijacked, written and performed by R.L. Ferguson. Firmware, Hijacked, Episode 16. 26. You ever watch a Hideo Kurosawa film? There's always that scene in every movie where a gang of Ronin are doing something stupid when a rival group of samurai come across them. The Ronin stop their stupidity, turn in to face the samurai. The samurai stand all loose. The Ronin are on their turf, doing things the samurai don't like. Everything stops for a moment. The samurai stare down the Ronin, hands on their katanas. The Ronin shift nervously. The Ronin talked first. They always talked first. "Get out of our way," ballistic-suited Ronin leader barked. "You can leave if you release our guest," said the black-suited security samurai. Ronin leader pulled an envelope from his breast pocket. "We have a warrant from the 7th Circuit Court for the return of contracted corporate labor belonging to the multinational entity British Telecom-Sprint." Ronin leader gestured toward me. Security samurai smiled, examined the offered document, returned it. "You are beyond your jurisdiction, gentlemen. Release our guest, and you may leave." I become detached, my brain not processing anything properly. I saw a limo pull up to the loading zone before the club. A security samurai got out of the passenger door. David stepped from the driver's side. There was something wiry and long in the security samurai's hand. He carried it like a sword, tipped toward the ground, arm held down at an angle from his body. I felt the corporate Ronin around me tense. This was the part in the movie, right before the samurai drew their blades, the really tense moment. The sound of J-pop erupted from the club behind me. The corporate Ronin snapped. I heard the snick and pop of carbon fiber batons deploying. I saw the corporate Ronin standing with batons extended, the security samurai a blur of motion. I stumbled to the side, away from the swish of a baton. I lost my balance. Strong hands gripped me on either side. Frankie stood before me. "Best bachelor party ever!" "Get in your vehicle!" barked a security samurai. The corporate Ronin lay on the ground, curled in the fetal position. To my booze-addled mind, they looked like 4 yangs waiting for their yins as they lay there on the street before the oyster bed. A partial ring of club samurai circled them, carbon fiber batons held at the ready. They wanted the corporate Ronin to try something. Anything. Andre and Cece poured me into the limo. "Dimitri! Dimitri!" I called. Dimitri poked his head into the limo. His cheeks glowed with alcohol. "What?" "Tip them well." "I already did." Dimitri climbed in and collapsed on a seat. The limo pulled into the morning traffic. "That was awesome," Frankie laughed. He pulled a packet from his pocket, a plastic tray with foil on the backside. He pushed on one side, the foil popped. A square of gum fell into his hand. He shoved it at me. "Chew up!" "I don't want gum," I croaked. He offered it to Dimitri. Dimitri turned up his nose. Come on, guys. It's refreshinol, stimulant, and alcohol oxidizer. Can't get the stuff out of your cells, but if it's in the bloodstream, stomach, or GI tract, it's neutralized. I noticed Frankie's jaw was already pumping away on a piece. Do you always carry this? Frankie laughed. How do you think I survived 6 martini purchase orders? The refreshinol accepted. Everyone in the back chewed away as we rolled down the neon glow of Godot. Cece and Andre were describing the various methods the dancers used to gather the ones on the rail. David interrupted on the intercom. Where to, guys? It's just after 4. The gum was already starting to work. I want pie, called Frankie. Eggs and bacon would be good as well, Cece added. Take us to Epstein's. They've got good pie, Dmitri ordered. 27. It was dawn by the time we found Epstein's. David kept circling through an industrial neighborhood, quartering the sleepy district, the long black limo slipping around produce vans. Those of us in the back were twitchy by the time we found Epstein's. We poured out of the back doors, our eyes blinking like babies. The first shafts of dawn's light illuminated the street. We stumbled across the abandoned lot to Epstein's. Once I saw Epstein's, I knew why David had such a hard time finding it. Epstein's was a 50-foot-long gleaming chrome trailer made up in the fashion of a diner. A Caterpillar Mitsubishi tractor was hooked to it. A handful of workers in green bodysuits watched us from the windows, beard bags pulled down about their necks, hairnets in place. Come on, David, I called. No one's going to mess with the limo. Not hungry, David grunted. Suit yourself, I called back. I turned to Dmitri. What crawled up his ass? Dmitri glanced back at David and shook his head. We found a booth and ordered coffee. The waitress seemed surprised by our presence. Must not get many suits in there. Epstein's was a classic diner. Small kitchen, long counter with post-mounted stools, a row of booths along the windows. Nice, not spacious, but nice. The kind of place they stop at in those movies where the city guy has to cross the country while being hunted by corporate assassins. Very classic. We ordered. Frankie ordered a whole cherry pie. The rest of us some combination of eggs, bacon, or ham, and either fried potato somethings or a pancake. Greasy, heavy, lots of protein, starch, and fat. Frankie, of course, dominated the conversation. Cece likes sports, especially football. Frankie got him rambling on about his favorite Champions League team, the Roanoke Park Rangers, and the problems they've been having with their wing forwards. Then, without missing a beat, he turned to Zahar. Zahar was one of those guys who enjoyed watching, not one to join in. Frankie got him to talk about what was bothering him. Zahar's mother was on him to marry, find a nice Georgian girl, settle down, and get a real job. His mother, though she enjoyed the income Zahar brought home, really wanted grandchildren more. Frankie studied him for a moment, then said, The problem is you don't want a nice neighborhood girl. Zahar stared at Frankie in amazement. How'd you know that? I laughed. Frankie has a 6th, 7th, and 8th sense. Been pulling gems out of the air for years. Frankie sat back. I know, because of the way you refer to the neighborhood girls. They are Georgian girls, not Ninas, Jennifers, or Askas. You know you mix 3 different ethnic groups, I asked. The point is, he doesn't see the neighborhood girls as individuals. Zahar sees them as ammunition his mother and her matchmaker friends fire at him. Zahar nodded. Now I think you have a girl in mind. Actually, not a girl, a woman. A woman with a career of her own. Someone who would be your partner, a city woman. Dmitri cut in. Where is he getting this? This is insane. Let him continue, I said, ordering another pot of coffee, and had some sent out to David, who leaned on the limo playing with his phone. Frankie was in his element, a salesman par excellence, showing off the skills that pay the bills. It all comes down to your neighborhood. Your neighborhood is in transition. Correct me if I'm wrong, but all the signs are there. The trains are underground. How long ago did the city do that? About 10 to 15 years back, answered Zahar. I was in 5th grade when they brought in the line. The city buried the tracks. That's a core thing. All the best neighborhoods want the trains, but they don't want to see them. Then there's Roanoke Park north of you. The rents are going up there, gentrification. And I bet there is a community of artists, musicians, and freelance programming shops opening up around Andropov at the bottom of the park. I smiled. Andre and Dimitri's jaws were on the table. Let me go as far as to say your lady friend is a programmer, one of those cut-rate coding operations over a little coffee house. Zahar nodded. With that bit of info, I expect her to be of an ethnic group your mother can't stand. Let me see. Probably Han Chinese and a member of... Frankie stared off into space. Got it. She's a reformed Sufi modernist. Zahar laughed nervously. Dimitri turned to him. You're seeing a slant-eyed Muslim? Zahar lowered his eyes. She's real pretty and smart. Better be. Me, I'm open-minded. Don't give one whiff what you want to poke. Don't let Leo find out. He'll have your nuts in a vice and the girl in a hospital. Dimitri poured another cup. Okay, Mr. Wizard, how'd you do it? It's the pattern of the city. Neighborhoods near the core with bad reputations have low rents. Musicians, artists, and programmers just out of school who aren't on the corporate track seek out low rents with good networks. Usually the trains get buried first. Then the rents attract the bohemian elements. Then urban professionals who want to hang out around bohemians. This drives up the rents. The bohemians move to another neighborhood on the edge, thus perpetuating the cycle. The city is not static, gentlemen. It moves and breathes like the beast it is. Its blood is trade. Its muscles are people. If I see this right, your neighborhood will be gentrified in the next 20 years. Zahar asked, How did you know she was Han Chinese and a reformed Sufi modernist? Simple history, my man. 20 years back, the city saw an influx of Han Chinese. Bureaucratic nobility driven into exile by the rise of the Zhong imperialists. The children of the first couple generations tend to face a lot of obstacles when it comes to socially acceptable occupations. I am sure your parents would all agree with that. You admitted she was successful. Artists and musicians rarely have enough money to drink on, much less have a future. Programmers, even startups over coffee houses, tend to make enough to cover the bills and then some. I guessed at the reformed Sufi modernist part. It's the most popular religion among technically adept college students. Besides, its combination of Sufi mysticism and their belief in the God in the machine tends to piss off enough traditionalists to make it worth joining. Frankie looked out the window. It was now mid-morning. Epstein's was filling up. I got the check. You guys cover the tip. Frankie and I headed toward the door. Zahar spoke low to Sissy. You like Shen? Sure, Sissy said. Not like Leo's our boss anymore anyway. I don't think the new boss cares about your piece of Han ass. Zahar looked uncomfortable. Frankie and I exited before I could hear Dimitri's response. Leo was their boss, with the emphasis on the past tense. Who was their new boss now? I thought about what Sergio said about the groomsmen being his best friends, his guardians. How they served not just as witnesses, but also as his protectors. Dimitri and company met us at the limo. Just got off the phone with Sergio. We have 2 hours before they want us at his place. His place? I asked. What for? To pick up your bride. Dimitri smiled. This work is released under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license. Do what you want with it. Remix it, re-record it, transcribe it, share it. Just don't sell it or change the terms of the license. Your creation must be released under an Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.